Everyone, John Paddock with the Mohave Valley Daily News. Welcome into Chalk Talk, brought to you by Anderson Ford of Bullhead City, so we'd like to thank them. My guest today, Scott Neal. How you doing, Scott?
Hey, John. Nice to be here. Thanks.
Thanks for coming in. Scott is the Assistant Fire Chief over at the Bullhead City Fire Department, but we're not here to talk fire trucks and fire hoses and Station 2 and all that stuff. We're here to talk about his other job, the head boys basketball coach over at Mohave Accelerated.
Yeah, well, sometimes it feels like that's my full-time job these days, managing a group like this with a lot of expectations coming into the season. We are really in middle of our season right now, so there's a lot to talk about where we've come so far.
Yeah, so went to the state title game last year.
Right.
You had 4 juniors and a sophomore where you're starting 5.
Right.
You went up against a senior-laden team there. You lost. It was a good game, but bringing all those guys back, a lot of people, we got the Arizona Republic as one of them, had you ranked as the #1 team in the state. Heading into the season, they still have you ranked as #1 in the state. How do you have those kids and go, all right, look, because I know that I would be searching all over the internet trying to see where they have me ranked and what they're saying about my team and all that. I'm sure those kids are, and they see the press clippings that we send out and all that. How do you keep them humble and focused on what's got to be done?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple ways we've done it, and it started with the loss to North Valley in the state finals. After that game, obviously we had a lot of disappointment and certainly sadness that we didn't win it. I truly believe the team that beat us was the only team that could have, and they did. But from there, we kind of reversed engineer, how do we win a title next year? And I studied the North Valley model, and that is play the hardest schedule you can against the biggest teams possible to prepare your kids for that limelight and that spotlight in the final game. We didn't have that last year. We didn't have an off season to get those kids ready to play in a big game. We got to the state finals kind of unexpectedly. Throughout the season, we obviously played well enough to do it, but we hadn't been there before. Yeah. North Valley had been to the finals the year prior and lost. They went their next season, last season, they went through some very grueling games and lost one, ran the table after that, and never looked back. And so I looked for an opportunity to kind of model that, starting with Section 7 in June. We got into a big tournament down in Phoenix. We were playing 12 different states worth of teams, and we went up against some of the biggest teams in the state and abroad to prepare our kids to play against tough competition, not in truly the 1A environment, but the world environment. And that kept them grounded because they saw what's out there, right? What could be out there waiting for them when it comes to talent. We don't know what we're going to run across this year yet. We haven't got through the whole season, but I think we'll be better prepared this year because of the schedule we've played.
All right, so let's talk about that. You've got you had those games that you played at the tournament before the season started,
right.
Kind of helped keep the guys loose and,
sure.
and focused and everything else. But you've also, since the season has started, you've had tournaments. You had one over Christmas, the Christmas break there, where you're going against 4A and 5A, not just 4A and 5A teams, but 4A and 5A powerhouses.
Yeah, big teams.
So right now you're 16-4 overall,
right.
including those losses that you
right.
had in those tournaments. Outside of that, your regular schedule that you have, you guys are 10-0, including 3-0 in your division.
Sure.
Have you seen an improvement in the team between, well, let's say from last year to this year?
Yes, the continuity of our offense and defense is much more solid and consistent than it was last year because we were introducing new concepts last year, and there'd be days where we'd do it right and other days where we didn't. In the state finals, we really didn't play that well as a team for various reasons. But this year, we've been very consistent in the way we've played. Mm-hmm. We've gone up against in the early part of our schedule, big teams, Mohave High School, 4A, River Valley, 3A, Kingman Academy, 2A. We have prepared ourselves, Lee Williams, we played also 4A. We prepared ourselves early against teams like that to see where we were coming out of the summer. And we handled those games with a lot of poise. Some of them were nail biters down at the end, but we closed them out and we sort of finished off teams the way we had to win. That tells me we're ready to go. And now we're getting through the tournaments that you just mentioned, which we played some tough teams, and we had no chance to win in some of those games, but that wasn't the point. We wanted to play against tough competition to see what we could really do. I wanted to test the kids to the level that they were broken, as far as their game. And they could see the point at which, okay, this is a level that we can't really compete against. Let's see what we can do when we pull back a step or two. And we pushed ourselves pretty far. We played a team called North Canyon out of Phoenix who won the Mohave tournament the week before. We played them down there in the Epic tournament, and they beat us by 30 points. We didn't play great. We could have probably played a little bit better. But the bottom line is, that's a level of talent we just don't possess. But you're talking a top 5 team in 5A. I mean, that's tough to compete against.
Yeah, yeah, they
for
got
a
a lot.
team like ours.
Obviously, they got a lot more students to choose from. They can, recruit or whatever you want to call it. Right now you're battling some injuries as well. That has to kind of shake things up when it comes to, the starting lineup and making those adjustments. How are the boys handling that?
Well, we lost Josh Neal for a bit here. He had a knee injury down at the Epic tournament, and it was a tough blow. I mean, he does a lot for our program, has ever since he's been in 6th grade, and these kids are so tight. It was an emotional loss as much as it was a physical loss. But one thing about our program that has stood the test of time, all the way back to when these guys were in middle school, is the next man up. I know it's a cliche, but the next man up has to go ahead and step into those shoes and perform. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't have been prouder of the first game after the injury at Siloam. We had a kid, basically our 8th guy on the bench, Bryce Merrigan. He went in after probably averaging 1 point a game. He scored 15 points, 14 points, had 9 boards in a game where we were just starting to miss Josh. He stepped in, and what a sight to see. It just shows you the depth we've got.
And that really goes to, we got 2 ways of doing this. We can go, well, he's our leading rebounder. He's our second leading scorer.
He was a leading scorer as well.
He
was a leading scorer and rebounder at the time he went down. So that's a lot to replace.
And he's one of our captains on the team.
Right.
We could easily just implode and go, well, how are we going to win without him? Or we can, all right, everyone's got to divvy it up, and we need to pick up the slack.
That's exactly what's happened. We've had several kids who have been sort of role players or bench players have career highs in 3 straight games. We've had that. Actually, last night, Bryce Merrigan went from a 14-point career high to an 18-point career high last night. So the kid has had 3 games since Josh went down, 2 career highs set in points. And, that's the type of thing that we've got the luxury of having in this program that a lot of 1A teams don't have. We can go 8, 9 deep on the bench and still find gems, still find games where you don't miss a beat, and that's why we can still win.
Yeah, that's awesome. You had a big win last night, as we mentioned before, Mountainside. You beat them 85-26. They were the number 14 team. I got Aiden Honiger with 28 points and 10 steals. Bryce Merrigan, you mentioned, 18 points and 9 rebounds. And Ramon Lopez, 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals. So, each of those names we've heard before. Obviously, Aiden we've heard all last year, yeah. But we're starting to hear the Tyson Banks and Lopez and Merrigan and some of these other guys. Evans?
Owen Davis.
Davis, yeah.
Yep, Owen Davis.
Yeah, so it's interesting to hear other guys' names out there. Now you got another big one today.
We do. We got North Phoenix Prep coming in. Anytime you bring a team in from Phoenix, they've got talent. They got plenty of talent down there. They're going to we've been watching film on them. They're bringing in a couple of really good players, high-scoring kids. It's going to be tough to defend. And we're down another kid is on top of Josh today. So, 2 of our top 3 players on the team are not playing today. So it's going to really test our resolve. It's going to test our depth. It's going to test our mental toughness. But I truly believe we're going to step up to the plate and take care of it tonight.
And it's going to test your coach.
And it's going to test the coach. You can see the gray hairs are really starting to come in. But let me mention Tyson Banks real quick. Here's a kid, 6'6", 215 pounds. There's very few kids like that in 1A, and he has come along nicely. He had a career high 22 in a game against LEA last Saturday. And again, you just see consistency starting to build in this kid. And if he can become a player that is a force to reckon with, we're going to be just fine. This is a force in 1A that you just don't see.
So actually, when this airs, you will have already played
North Phoenix,
your game tonight.
Right.
What do you got coming up next week?
We got 2 games next week. We got Baghdad coming in on Tuesday, and Baghdad is not a team that is going to give us too much trouble. They're one of the lower end teams in 1A. But then we got Antelope coming in. This is a team that was in 2A last year and came down to 1A this year. So they're a bigger school. They've got some good players. We have played them once this year already and beaten them with our full team. But we're still going to be missing some players at that game, and it's our senior night. But I think the kids will be ready to go for that one.
What day is that?
That's Friday.
So next Friday,
Yep.
what is that, the 21st, something like that?
21st. Yep.
Okay.
So our next 2 games, actually tonight included, 3 games are all at home.
Oh,
So that
good.
helps us some home cooking while we're getting healthy.
Yeah, and the fans out there cheering for
There
their
we go.
guys.
We
and
feed off of
pumping them
that.
up.
We've never lost a game at home with this current group, so I hope we keep
There
that
you go. Dude, I bet you didn't know that. Well, that should do it. Congratulations on the great start. We're really expecting some big things out of you guys again this year. It's fun to follow your journey last year. You know, we
Yep.
kind of glom on to whoever's winning in the neighborhood. So, good job. Congratulations, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming in.
All right. Thanks, John.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you.